On the east coast, you've got Iceland. There's the gap between Greenland and Iceland, and then the United Kingdom in the North Atlantic, and that's a very geostrategic area where there's lots of naval vessels, US, British, and Russian, all around that area. Now, Greenland is not actually that size. Okay, this is what's called the Mercator projection. And it's named after Gerardus Mercator, who invented this world map in 1569. And it gives, quote, a distorted perception of global landmass sizes caused by the map projection, making polar regions and countries far from the equator, like Greenland and Russia, appear much larger than they are. Now, Greenland is 836,000 square miles, while the UK is around 94 square miles. So Greenland is around 9 times the size of the UK, and not basically, the 25 times like what this map appears like, if not even more. It's only 9 times the size. So there's another picture that has been adjusted to take out the Mercator exaggerations. And relatively speaking, that's the actual size of all these land masses. The Mercator projection is the light blue, and the actual size relative to the other countries in the world is the dark blue. So that gives you an idea. Britain's not even as big as it looks on the Mercator map, if you look in the little dark blue area there. But Greenland, the difference in Greenland is much, much smaller, because you would think it was the size of Africa. Under the Mercator projection, it does appear to be even larger than Africa, but it's actually just 9 times the size of Britain. And there's another map that takes out all the Mercator exaggerations, and that's quite a good one as well. All the space there is the exaggerated areas. Okay, so that sets up what we're talking about when we talk about Greenland. We've got to get it in our heads, the mental size of it. Anyway, let's bring on our man, Ash. Please say hello to Ash. Hi there, Ash.
Evening, Alistair. You well?
Very well, thanks. How's things at Preston? Is it still there?
Still there.
Good.
Much the same as they are in the rest of England, I think, or maybe even the rest of the UK. Who knows? Difficult, let's say, but I'm busy, so you've got to be grateful for that. But then again, there's lots of people, of course, that aren't. Lots of people who are losing jobs as a result of these morons that are supposed to be running the country.
Yeah, that's a big concern. We'll get onto that in a moment. But have you been following the Greenland situation? And because I'd quite like to pick your brains to find out if you've got any particular angles on it. After you've done that, I can tell you what my thoughts are on it anyway.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a bluff by Trump, but it's very typical of Trump as well, isn't it? He's playing hardball. He's a businessman. Of course, he's going to. This is the way he does things. And he was never, and the Americans were never going to use military force to literally invade Greenland. I actually think he's picked an unnecessary fight, Trump, really. I'm a fan of Donald Trump. I like him, but I think he's picked an unnecessary fight. If you look at Greenland, the Americans already have authorization, I believe, or NATO does, to put as many bases as they want on there and as many troops as they want on there as well. That's my understanding. So there's really no need for Trump to do this. But I think it's his lack of trust and the American lack of trust in the Europeans, including ourselves, to actually defend that place should, God forbid, some sort of conflict break out. Because we know that Putin has moved some of his subs and nuclear fleet up that way. So that's why people are now the Americans are trying to move and maneuver to head them off, if you will. A bit like we did in World War II, if you remember. We invaded Norway to try and stop the Germans from taking Norway. It was a disaster, but we tried it anyway. It's similar now. People are preempting what could happen if a conflict breaks out. And I don't mind that, actually. I actually think you've got to plan ahead. Whereas our politicians in this country think in 5-year cycles, at least Trump, although he's only going to be there for another couple of years, is thinking about the bigger picture, what could happen in the future. Of course, Putin and Xi, for example, have got an advantage over democracies because they're going to be there for as long as they please, basically, so they can look at the bigger picture. A lot of our politicians don't do that, and Starmer's only thinking in very, very short-termist moves as well. Like, it's not just him; they're all doing it. They all think, how can I look good in the short term, win the next general election? When really, what they should be looking at is how the hell do we, if a conflict breaks out, how do we stop the Russians? How do we fight the Russians? And at the minute, I know Russia don't have the best armed forces, but they've got very, very sophisticated long-range weapons. And if they wanted to, they could stand off and fight off the whole of the EU and the UK without much difficulty. And that's a massive problem for the future.
Yeah, what's interesting that you say that they do have authority to station whatever. Well, I don't know whatever, but they do have authority anyway to station stuff, because according to Trump, he says that Greenland represents an essential part of what's called the Golden Dome for America, which is, let me just research this earlier today, and it's a proposed, quote, multi-layered missile defense system for the US intended to detect and destroy ballistic, hypersonic, and cruise missiles before they launch or during their flight. The system would employ a constellation of satellites equipped with sensors and space-based interceptors, if you can believe that. So, so he says it's needed for that. Well, okay, I can understand that, but can't he arrange to like lease an area of ground or like pay substantial dollars to Denmark for that privilege? And I'm wondering if that's his next step in the art of the deal, as it were, threaten to invade, get everybody worried, and then go, well, listen, guys, do you know what? I've come round to the realization, I'll just give you some money for it. Just give us a few acres over here to put our defense missiles or whatever on. Maybe that's part of the ploy.
Maybe. I mean, to be fair to it, the Americans, if you look at the proximity of Greenland to North America, it's pretty close, isn't it? So you can understand why they'd want it. As I understand it, whoever governs Greenland, I don't know if it's Denmark or if it's a joint thing between people who live there or what. The population's only 57,000, isn't it? As I understand it, the people of Greenland or the government of Greenland had already said, we're willing to negotiate with Trump. I mean, to be fair to them, it's to their advantage, isn't it, to have someone there stationed there permanently, a missile guidance system perhaps, that could actually defend them, because I can't imagine they've got much of an armed forces themselves, and neither of Denmark, let's be honest. So it could actually be to their advantage. I just think all this silly posturing, like you've got 1 minute, you've got people saying, let's de-escalate the situation. Starmer does his usual lawyer thing, let's calm down. And Macron's trying to do his, we're going to be all tough about it. The French sent 10 soldiers over there. The Germans sent 13. We sent 1, an officer. That was it.
We sent 1, but it was Jason Statham.
Yeah. As soon as this was really funny, actually. I saw a video of it said the French soldiers have just arrived, and it showed all these blokes getting off a plane like this with their hands up as they get off. And the Germans arrived. Was it what are we on now? Wednesday. I think the Germans arrived on Sunday morning or something. Trump started talking about tariffs, and they got back on the plane and went back to Germany again.
Really? Yeah. That didn't last very long.
That didn't last long either. So this is not about Greenland. It could be significant, but there is no war at the minute. I think this is Trump flexing his muscle. I think he knows he can bully the EU. He knows he can bully the UK, and he's already said, that in his statement where he called giving the Chagos Islands away an act of great stupidity, and he said that people like Xi and Putin will notice this. They'll notice how weak European leaders are, and of course the UK government, how weak these people are. And I think Trump is doing exactly the same thing as what Xi or Putin might do, and simply bullying these people, because weak men breed, what's the saying? Weak men breed bad times, something like that. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. You've got a load of weak people in charge. You've got a failed defense minister of Germany in charge of the EU. You've got Macron that's going to be voted out very, very soon. Or can't be voted. He can't stand again. Starmer's not going to last another few months. You've got all these people, and they're so weak. They're so globalist. Europe, it's not just EU, but Europe, UK, etc. Everyone's thought, oh, it's fine. We don't have to do anything. The Americans will pay for all our defense. We don't have to lift a finger. And they've lived life like it's going to be peacetime forever and ever in this utopian left-wing world they all seem to live in. And China doesn't think like that. Russia doesn't think like that. And I'm afraid, cozying up to them, which we have done over the years, has cost us dearly. And for some bizarre reason, we're cozying up to China even more now. So this is Trump getting America ready for a potential war. But
I hope that's not the case. I hope there's not going to be a war against China.
Oh, I hope so as well. But
Russia, I mean,
he's
personally, I can't. Personally, I can't see that. He's definitely
trying to stave off Russia. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
I can't. God forbid it happens. I don't want it to happen, but
no,
that's what this is about. People are signing alliances around the world. You've got the BRICS alliance now that's pops up. With India, Brazil, China, all these countries that are all together in one block. This all ties in with the Iran stuff as well. Get rid of Iran. You get rid of all those proxies in the Middle East, and it makes Israel stronger, which would probably be on our side during some sort of conflict. There's a lot of posturing going on at the minute, a lot of alliances being signed, a lot of trade deals being signed, and it is people potentially getting ready for a conflict. And you're quite right. God forbid it should ever happen. But this is what we're seeing now around Europe, and that's the way things are going at the moment.
Yeah, I think, as you say, certainly Trump and the Trump government looks down upon Europe these days, and it's been quite clear that it doesn't like the way Europe is going as far as things like free speech are concerned, as far as things even like open borders are concerned. And we've got the Trump tweet that he put out, which is worth just reading in full because few of our viewers will actually have seen it. So we'll just stick that one up. Where are we? There we go. Shockingly, our brilliant NATO ally, the United Kingdom, is currently planning to give away the island of Diego Garcia, the site of a vital US military base, to Mauritius, and to do so for no reason whatsoever. Well, he's absolutely correct on that. There is no doubt that China and Russia have noticed this act of total weakness. These are international powers who only recognize strength, which is why the United States of America, under my leadership, is now, after only 1 year, respected like never before. Okay, sorry, that's Trump just blowing his horn there. The UK giving away extremely important land is an act of great stupidity. Well, he's correct there. And is another in a very long line of national security reasons why Greenland has to be acquired. Denmark and its European allies have to do the right thing. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, well, it could be
passive-aggressive.
Yeah, passive-aggressive. Thank you for your attention to this matter. As if nobody's going to pay attention to a tweet from Donald Trump. I mean to say, it's not as if you hear that Donald Trump's made a tweet and nobody pays attention to it. So why he always ends like that, it's always a bit irritating. Anyway, so that's his point. I think that there might be one or two reasons, and this is me really just kind of wargaming off the top of my head. But if he really does want to take it, then why? And I think he does believe that, as you quite rightly said there, the West is very weak. Keir Starmer, which should be Britain would normally be America's biggest ally in the world. He's giving up a vital geostrategic airfield in the middle of the Indian Ocean for, as Trump says, no reason whatsoever. That's weakening Britain, and obviously it weakens America as well. So he's seeing that and he's like, we can't allow this to go on. And I blame Keir Starmer, but it's also the Tories. Remember, it's the Tories who started all of this. So he's looking at the British establishment, Tory and Labour, and seeing how they've given away Diego Garcia, the Chagos Islands. So he's like, well, is Denmark going to give away Greenland? If so, who are they going to give it away to? Maybe we should strengthen our control over that. I've also wondered if there's, as you said, he thinks in the long term. So is he worried about if there was to be Scottish separation, would Americans lose their nuclear base in Faz Lane, which points right directly out into the North Atlantic. If they lost that, this is wargaming, the worst scenario, then they would need, where would their submarines be? Could they form a base in Greenland, on the east coast of Greenland? And I used AI today to ask that very question. And I think we've got the answer that we got from Google AI here. And basically, the answer is yes, they could build a submarine base in Greenland submarine base. Here it is. Yes, Greenland's east coast has a coastline with geographical features, specifically deep ice-free fjords that could technically support a submarine base. Though significant environmental and logistical challenges exist. While the US military currently operates only one major base in the northwest, that's the Pacific Space Base, the East Coast provides direct access to the deep waters of the Greenland Sea and the critical Greenland-Iceland-UK gap, which is a key area for monitoring submarine traffic. So they could be looking at like wanting to build some kind of submarine base, which would be a mega engineering job, but they could do that. And then, is there minerals to be exploited to the extent that you can exploit ice? I don't know. There maybe is.
They're saying as the ice cap starts to melt a little bit, which it is doing, it's actually providing more. I don't know what the word, for want of a better word, fertile land, if you will, for military installations, for military bases, etc. So it's opening up, and I suppose again, I know I've said it already. He's preempting what could happen in the future, isn't he? And that's what he's doing. So let's put it this way: if Russia just decided, they're probably not going to, but if Russia decided tomorrow we're going to invade Greenland, first of all, there's absolutely nothing that Denmark could do about it on their own. There's nothing the people of Greenland could do about it on their own. Would NATO step in and actually invoke Article 5 and declare war on Russia? I very, very much doubt it. So that's why Trump wants it, I think, more without a shot being fired rather than letting it go to the Russians. And I think that's a big part of it as well. We know how paranoid the Russians are, with good reason to a point as well, about having other countries on their borders, which I believe, not a popular view, but I believe that's why the Ukraine-Russia conflict started in the first place. And I think
well, that's 100% why it started, because NATO prevailed upon the border far too closely.
Exactly, after saying they wouldn't go that close to it. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's, it wouldn't surprise me if Putin had eyes on Greenland. I don't think it'd happen, but I really don't. But it's perfectly possible, isn't it? And
yes.
I've just seen a really good. Sorry, you go.
So no, go ahead.
I've just seen a really good comment from one of the audience, someone called Steve, who said, and I completely agree with this, by the way, there is no special relationship. We are just an asset to the US. And I completely agree with that comment, by the way. There is this special relationship talk is absolute rubbish. Don't get me wrong, our relationship now is weaker probably than it's ever been under Starmer. It's dreadful. But where does this special relationship come from? America didn't join World War I and II out of the goodness of their hearts. They didn't give us weapons or send us food out of the goodness of their hearts. In World War I, we were charged for every single dollar and dime they sent to us. Everything. And we didn't pay World War II off, I don't think, until 2018, was it, or something like that? And World War I just before that. So there is no special relationship. Yes, they've helped us out with stuff, but we paid through the nose for it with huge interest rates. So let's not pretend that the Americans are our best friends in the world. We've got a lot in common culturally, etc. That's because we used to own them, of course. The ungrateful gits kicked us out. But we do have a lot in common. We are allies, but this special relationship stuff, don't you believe it? If we got into a war tomorrow, there's no way America's declaring war on whoever it is instantly like that. It's not going to happen.
No, you're right. Thomas Howe also here, he says, the special relationship has been questionable for a long time. World War II and the 1980s aside, each decade has been the UK-US disagreeing and drifting away from each other, pretending it's fine. And I was reading today in preparation for the show that wondering why oil can only be exchanged in dollars, which needs more explanation, which I won't go into just now. But basically, the fact that such a vital commodity as oil can only be traded in dollars is a huge advantage to the US economy.
Is it because it's the backup currency of the world?
Yes, yes. And they don't like the idea of any countries trading oil in any other denomination. So they don't want Russia and China to get together with Iran and Libya and Syria and all these countries that and Venezuela to form some kind of opposite trading group that lots of other countries would then join in order to maintain some kind of sovereignty away from the US dollar domination. So when was all this decided that we've got to trade in dollars? Guess what? After World War II, there was the Bretton Woods Conference. And Britain wanted, understandably, for the petro currency to be pound sterling. And guess what? The Americans prevailed, and they've defended the petrodollar as the means of trading oil ever since, which is very much to their advantage. And for me, it's one of the, as I was explaining it earlier in the show, I think it's one of the few explanations that you can kind of work out as to why we're always being told who these enemies worldwide are that have done nothing to us, really. I mean, what's China done to us other than sell us cheap tat? But China's never going to invade Britain. But Chinese people will invade Britain legally, as immigrants and so on. They're all around.
Yeah.
So it's not like, anyway. That's getting sidetracked. Yeah, good point about that. Paul says, I believe at one point the Philippines were going to be a state of the US. Yeah, I think that's possibly
I think
correct.
that is true. Yeah. Was that after World War II? After obviously it was occupied by the Americans anyway, wasn't it? Was it General McCarthy that was there, and then he ended up leaving, and then they got it back after World War II again, and I think it just became independent. But I think it was going to become a US state. Yeah. This is a funny thing. I don't know if you've been watching any of this crap coming out of Davos. I absolutely hate it, but I've seen the odd clip. That little turd Macron was there. You see him with his silly blue glasses on. I hope somebody watching this, by the way, in the audience has seen this. It's so bad.
I haven't seen it, no.
Like his wife probably smacked him again or something. He's got these silly blue glasses on. He looks a fool. If Niall can get a picture, put it up. It's ridiculous. Anyway, he's talking about this world order, this global order. And you've just been saying about these powerful countries. There is no global order. There is no world order. What international rules do Xi or Putin stick by, or America for that reason, by the way? And don't think we don't do our fair share of skullduggery around the world as well. There is no world order. What they like to think is this world order stops smaller countries being bullied by bigger ones. That's crap. It's never been like that all the way through history. The bigger countries, and it's maybe it shouldn't be like this, but the bigger countries, I'm afraid, like it or not, your Russias, your Americas, they have all the power in the world because they're so big, they're so powerful, and nobody can take them on. There is no world order, rules-based order. People tend to stick to the rules until something's not to their advantage, and then they do whatever they damn well please anyway. So that's what this world order thing is that they talk about. It absolutely infuriates me.
Yeah. There's a world order in the sense of there's an order in the West where basically everybody is kind of subservient in a way to the American dollar. I mean, that's a kind of world order, and that's rigorously enforced. I was talking earlier in the show about the fact that all the credit card companies are based in America and routed through America, and we all depend upon our credit cards and our debit cards and so on. And many of those could just shut down completely if, for some reason, America wanted to pull the plug. And that's how assets of other countries can get frozen as well. Especially countries that trade in oil, and they find the money that they earned is actually held in a bank in Wall Street or something like that, because they've had to trade in dollars, and that Wall Street bank just freezes their assets. And that's shows that so long as that system exists, then countries cannot really be truly sovereign. The small countries or smaller countries can't be truly sovereign, because we're dependent upon the wherewithal and the say-so of these big nations.
That's the way it will always be. That nothing will ever change. People can talk about this world order all they want. Do you know what happened before World War One? Sorry to go off topic a little bit. You had two powerful blocks, one on one side and one on the other. Your Austria-Hungary and Germany and that on Austria and stuff on the other side. You had us and the French. Who else? And the American, not the Americans. It might have been the Russians on the other side. And the idea was you've got two big opposing blocks, and they're so powerful that neither would want to tackle the other, basically. So everyone can live in harmony together. Nobody would start a war. Nobody would ever start trade wars. Nobody would ever compete for stuff. We're all happy. We're living together, and we're not going to start anything unnecessary. What happened? It's total crap. That's where we are now. If you look at the BRICS arrangements that you've got in one side, and then you've got NATO on the other side, it's just history repeating itself again. And all it boils down to, you can have as many small nations on one side as you want. All it boils down to is there's only so many powers in the world. And whether people like it or not, you can say all these tariffs are killing the Russian economy. They're not. That's absolute rubbish. The ruble's the best performing currency in the world currently, because
really?
they're still selling all the all the fossil fuels, just not to us. Well, not directly. They're going to India, and then we're buying them anyway. So the world boils down to, in the modern world now, America, Russia, China, and in the future probably India as well. That's all it boils down to.
And Britain, get Britain in there.
I'd love to get us in there, but unfortunately, we're not a power anymore. We're not a superpower. Yes, we've got nuclear weapons that we probably never use. And last time they were tested didn't work. But I don't see. I don't. Not to talk my own country down. I'm incredibly proud to be British, but I don't see us as a power, and it's going to be quite a few years before we are, until one government comes in. Whether that's, I very much doubt it be this current one, but who knows? Or in the future, a reform government or another Tory government or whatever that actually takes defence seriously and makes us a power again. Takes away all this red tape, gives us some independent trade deals, gets us far away from the EU, and starts making London into a financial powerhouse again. Get our manufacturing back, etc. Drop this net zero rubbish. We're not going to get any of that, and that's the only way you become a superpower again. And of course, drill for oil and gas that we've got on our doorstep that nobody seems to want to touch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of it. And I would add, get home-based credit card companies so America can't shut down a British economy. Economic sovereignty in some kind, that we don't have to route everything through the Yankee dollar, as the song says. Ash, it's the top of the hour. Thank you very much for a very interesting conversation. People are not going to hear this conversation anywhere else tonight.
Flies by, doesn't it?
That's for sure. All good stuff. All good stuff. And thanks for streaming to your site as well. We've got a good number of viewers who've been watching the stream on the Preston Journalists page, as well as on a Force for Goods page. And thank you for all the people who made comments tonight. Quite a few of you animated in there. Paul Kelly says Starmer should put England and English people first instead of getting involved in Greenland and elsewhere. Well, yes, he's got a lot to say about the sovereignty of Greenland. What about the sovereignty of the UK?
Definitely.
So Stephen says we haven't had a genuine special relationship with the US since 1992. Don't know what happened in 1992 that was so special. But do tell us, Stephen. Quite a few people making comments about Macron, which I'm not going to read out for obvious reasons.
92, is that not John Major taking us closer to the EU?
It could be. Could be. And so good. Well, we've got a busy 2 or 3 months coming up, Ash. between now and, for you, the English council elections, if Starmer hasn't cancelled them all. The Scottish and Welsh elections as well. We'll get you back on next month to talk about all of that. That's for sure, and get you on a few times before Holyrood, because it's going to be busy for you and for your YouTube page, which has got something like almost 70,000 followers now. You're doing incredibly well. YouTube.com/@Preston Journalist, all one word. So if you're not a follower of Ash and you're on YouTube, please go to his site. It's really, you several videos a day these days. You're knocking them out and getting thousands of views within a couple of hours. It's doing really, really well.
Yeah, I've a selfless plug for myself. We've even branched out into speech writing now and voice coaching as well. So I'm incredibly busy, but I love doing stuff like this. I always love coming on this channel, so it's always a pleasure.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll see you shortly, and all power to your vocal cords.
Brilliant. Thank you. See you later. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Good night. Wonderful. Ash, Preston Journalist. Please do give him a follow. And just one thing that, well, actually, no, we're just on the top of the hour, so we'll just end it here. Now, folks, thanks for all the comments that you made tonight. We're going to be back next Wednesday with another show. We'll have another guest on as well. That will be next Wednesday from 7 until 8 p.m. If you haven't already done so, please repost this on Twitter if you can, or share it on Facebook. Really helps to get these messages, these patriotic messages, out there. So until next week, it just remains for me to say, God bless the United Kingdom and God save the King. See you next week.